Now here in British Columbia, people are facing a new threat to home ownership. This goes beyond prices, jobs, and mortgages. It goes to the foundation of our economy, private property rights. Last August, the BC Supreme Court ruled in the Cowichan Tribes versus Canada, a federal lawsuit involving the federal government, that Aboriginal title takes priority over land owned fee simple. That includes the legal term for home ownership and small business title. And it ensures that Aboriginal title will take precedence over small business owners and homeowners. The ruling covers 800 acres of Richmond worth $1 billion, but has an impact right across British Columbia because almost all of the province is under some sort of claim. And if this precedent holds up, then all of British Columbians may face the loss of their title. Hardworking British Columbians saved up, made a down payment, paid mortgages and property taxes, and now they live in fear that they could lose their homes. Many of our treasured retirees who just want peace of mind so that they can enjoy the retirement they earned now fear they could lose their most valuable material asset, their home. And where is the federal Prime Minister in this federal lawsuit? Again, the Cowichan case was not directed at the government of British Columbia, but at the government of Canada, and he leads that government. He also leads the government that negotiated agreements with First Nations that did not protect property rights. And despite the illusions and words, he has kept in place instructions banning federal lawyers from fighting for property rights and putting property rights first in disputes with other claims. Carney sets federal policies. So when Mark Carney says he believes property rights are fundamental, British Columbians ask, why won't he defend them? Why has he kept litigation guideline 14 in the Attorney General of Canada's directive on civil litigation involving Indigenous people? That guideline stops federal lawyers from arguing that fee simple property rights takes precedence over all other claims. This is a liberal directive brought in by this federal Liberal government in 2019. Mr. Carney has kept it in place. Then in February, the Carney Liberals signed the Musqueam Rights Recognition Agreement with no public scrutiny or consultation. That agreement recognizes Aboriginal rights and title over 533,000 hectares of Metro Vancouver, Burnaby, Richmond, Delta, and in fact, the parts of Richmond that are already affected by the Cowichan ruling. It creates the framework for future land governance and economic matters, but it does not protect private property rights of homeowners. That's why Conservatives have put forward a motion in the House of Commons calling on the Liberal government to do four reasonable things to defend your property. First, it calls on the Prime Minister to instruct federal lawyers to argue in court that private property rights take priority over all other claims. That includes reversing litigation guideline 14 that currently bans lawyers from doing so. Second, it requires explicit property protections in all future federal agreements with First Nations so homeowners and businesses can take comfort in knowing their title is firm. Third, it requires the Prime Minister personally publish a plan within 30 days to protect Canadians affected by property rights risks after Cowichan and Musqueam. It has been almost a year since this started, and we've seen nothing but words from Mark Carney. Fourth, appoint a special committee to study every legal, constitutional, and political step that Parliament can and should take to protect private property rights in Canada. These are reasonable steps. They are all within the power of the federal government, and they are urgently needed. Yesterday, we began running a radio ad campaign to increase support for our federal conservative motion protecting property rights. Contact your member of Parliament and tell them to vote yes for property rights on Monday in the House of Commons, because BC homeowners cannot take Liberal sound bites to the bank. They cannot use Carney's words as collateral, and they cannot protect their homes with another photo op, another promise, or another Liberal illusion. If Mark Carney really believes private property is fundamental, if it is not just an illusion, then he should act accordingly and vote for our motion.
As I'm sure you're well aware, Indigenous rights and DRIPA has become a political flashpoint in BC over the past few months or so. Virtually all of the BC Conservative leadership candidates say their number one priority is to repeal DRIPA. Premier David Eby has gone back and forth on amending DRIPA, and it's resulted in a response from First Nations groups, including threats of lawsuits and protests for major projects. So I'm wondering, with this motion that you're set to introduce on Monday, how do you think that'll impact government and Indigenous relations?
Well, my motion would improve Indigenous relations by bringing clarity that homeowners are protected. And quite frankly, it's time for Mark Carney to step up. The Cowichan decision came from a federal lawsuit, and it was the federal government, this federal Liberal government, that directed its lawyers not to defend property rights in that case. A decision that the judge recognized when she rendered her judgment. So it's time for Mark Carney to stop hiding. This is a federal issue. He has done absolutely nothing in the nearly 1 year that has passed since this ruling came down. We're telling him, Mark Carney, if you are serious about defending property rights, then prove it. Change your directives to direct lawyers at a federal level to fight for property rights first. Make a commitment that you won't sign any more agreements that do not explicitly defend property rights, and publish a plan to protect British Columbia homeowners and small businesses from the risk of property loss within 30 days. It's time for leadership, and Conservatives are providing that leadership.